It's your girl, Lady Mocha. And you know I'm going to always pour you a cup of truth, and I'm going to always break you off with a slice of knowledge.
New video shows alleged murderer Chris Watts talking about infidelity.
Hey everyone, I'm Jessica Suknanen, and this is your Daily Pitch. A dad in Colorado facing murder charges in the death of his pregnant wife and 2 daughters. And now, newly surfaced video shows him talking about saving or abandoning bad relationships.
In the 2012 YouTube video, alleged murderer Chris Watts gives a PowerPoint presentation on relationships. He opened the presentation by saying it was for a course he was taking. He talks about infidelity, possibly with someone at work, as a reason that a relationship might fail. This 6 years before investigators say he lied to them about an affair he was having with a coworker before his wife and daughter's deaths. The Associated Press reports a spokesperson for the Weld County District Attorney's Office declined to comment on the video. People everywhere are gripped by this case. Shanann and her daughters were first reported missing on August 13th by a friend. Her husband spoke to a local TV station pleading for his family's safe return. But the next day, police arrested him and charged him with their murder. In an arrest affidavit released by police, Watts said he woke up at 4 a.m. and started talking to Shanann about marital separation. He said he watched Shanann on a baby monitor video while in the bedroom. He said he saw his daughter Bella sprawled out on the bed, turning blue, and Shanann actively strangling Celeste. Chris said he went into a rage and ultimately strangled Shanann to death. A 2-day investigation revealed Chris was actively involved in an affair with a coworker, which he denied in previous interviews. That paints a different story than what prosecutors believe happened based on the charges he's facing. He's now facing 9 felonies, including 3 counts of murder.
Thanks for joining us today. We'll see you again soon for your next Daily Pitch.
We did it again. I like that shirt. Really?
Really?
That's awesome. So pink means...
That's just the test.
I know. It just says the pink is going to be girls.
I don't know. Just the test.
That's awesome. Guess when you want to, it happens.
What's up, everybody? It is your girl, your diva in knowledge, Lady Mocha, representing Lady Mocha's Cafe de Paris. What's good? Y'all know I'm always serving you the best topics and wisdom and knowledge and spiritual awareness. Want to give a big ups to all of my subscribers. Those of you who just joined the family, I welcome you. Those of you who have been with me from day one, I thank you and I appreciate you for always having my back, always rocking out with your girl, and always support me. And if this is your very first time here and you like what you hear and you love the content, you love the dishes that I have been serving you, the wisdom and knowledge, if you enjoy the content that I produced for you today, like, share, subscribe. And definitely don't be a stranger. I will hope to see you again, and hopefully I can continue to keep giving you all of this wisdom and knowledge. So on that note, I definitely thought it was very imperative that I did this particular content. As you can see, before I actually get into my commentary, this situation that's been going on with this couple by the name of Chris Watts and Shannon Watts. I know the details were very, very disturbing. Unfortunately, this happens a lot. Excuse me, I got a call. Unfortunately, this happens a lot more frequently than we could ever understand. Scott Peterson did it. He killed his wife, Lacey Peterson, all because he was having an affair on the side. He was dealing with someone else, and instead of being man enough to walk away and say, you know what, I don't want this marriage anymore. I don't want to be a husband. I don't want to be a family man. Well, ironically, I find it very disturbing that a man would rather sacrifice and lose his freedom for the rest of his life, have to deal with being incarcerated and deal with the tormenting thoughts of knowing he killed his children and killed his wife, versus leaving the situation in fear of having to pay spousal support, in fear of having to give up half of his company, half of his assets. No, I'd rather just go ahead and kill my wife, kill my children. That way I really don't have my freedom. So I never could understand men who get themselves in a situation because evidently you killed your wife, you killed your children because basically you felt like you were being smothered. You felt like you didn't have the freedom to kind of do as you wanted to do and do things the way you please. So I guess your only way of feeling like you could rid that problem is by getting rid of your wife and your children. But it's silly because once you become incarcerated and you have to serve life in prison with no possibility of parole, aren't you losing your freedom anyway? And if anything, you're losing your freedom indefinitely. So I just never could understand why men who get in this situation and they just really want out of their marriages, why they just won't let the woman go. Go ahead, break off some bread. I mean, of course, you're going to lose something. You're not going to get away with being married to somebody for over 3, 4, 5 years, and especially if y'all have had children, you're not going to walk away without having to pay your way out of certain things. Some things you got to, if you really, really want to be free of it, you want to get rid of it, some things you got to pay for. You know what I mean? You don't get to have it both ways. You can't take somebody's lives and then you still figure you're going to have your life. It doesn't work that way. So I just never could understand the psyche of these men who go so far as to killing their wives because they want to be free and only to be incarcerated to completely lose their freedom. So I just really don't get it. But never the case, I'm going to go ahead and read to y'all. I'm sure y'all already seen the video, of course, but just to summarize a little bit of what's going on. A Colorado man who admitted to police that he killed his pregnant wife in a rage has reportedly reached a plea deal Tuesday. Um, Denver 7 said, Denver 7 News said Christopher Lee Watts, accused of killing his wife, 34-year-old Shannon Watts, and two daughters, 3-year-old Celeste and 4-year-old Bella, pleaded guilty to all 9 charges he was facing, including first-degree murder, in exchange for not getting the death penalty. District Attorney's Office said it agreed to remove the death penalty from consideration with the agreement of the victim's family. Watts replied guilty 9 times in response to Judge Kopko's charge. Bodies of victims were found on the property of Anadarko Petroleum, one of the Colorado's largest oil and gas drillers. Records show Christopher Watts was employed by the company in 2015. 33-year-old Watts was charged with 3 counts of murder, 3 counts of tampering with deceased body and one count of unlawful termination of pregnancy, because his wife was a couple of weeks pregnant. I think she was 12 to 15 weeks. Can't really remember. Two of the murder victims were also enhanced because the victims were younger than 12. Shannon was reported missing August 13th by her friend Nicole Atkinson after she missed a doctor's appointment. So as you can see, this situation is really devastating. It's really tragic. It's stories on YouTube circulating this particular incident that occurred. So basically, if you look into the situation, you'll see several videos that Shannon has posted over the course of her life, of her happy family life. As you can see, if you look into the situation, you will see that it's basically this persona of the perfect, perfect Southern family, the kind of family you'll see on the front cover of these um picture frame companies, in Walgreens pharmacy. I mean, they just looked really perfect. Like they had it all together. They seemed very well rounded. They lived in a beautiful home. You can just really tell she was happy being a wife, being a mother. She adored her children. And most of all, she really, really adored her husband. There's several videos on YouTube circulating of her constantly bragging on her marriage. And I don't mean that in a bad or negative way, because a woman, if you're married, you should be happy enough to acknowledge your happiness with your husband. I think that's a wonderful thing. And I'm not knocking that, but evidently behind closed doors, it was something she definitely was in some type of denial about. And I don't believe in throwing shade on someone, especially when they're deceased and they're no longer here. I want to be as respectful as I can. But what I can say is that you can tell she practically put her husband on the pedestal, her husband and her children on the pedestal. She's a young housewife. You can tell she, from my understanding, unless I'm wrong, I don't think she worked anything. Her husband, he was working at that same plant, petroleum plant, where he buried her and his soon-to-be child and his other two children. So the psychological illness behind his actions, it just really makes me question his character. This man has indefinitely have been having this issue for quite some years. This is not just something you decide to wake up and do. So you can pretty much tell, if you look into some of the videos, the home videos that are circulating on YouTube, this man was not really happy. I noticed in the majority of the videos that were circulating, she was the one doing the majority of the talking. She was the one always talking about how uh, happy she was and how much she loved her husband, her children. And, she just seems so into this family thing. She seems so into her husband and so into her children. And you can tell this guy, he was very distant. He didn't seem very sociable. He just kind of sat in the background and let her do all the talking. He acted, to me, he came off as one of those husbands like, well, I'm here because I have to be, I'm here because she wants me to be. I'd really rather be somewhere else, but I'll just smile for the camera and, I'll just put on a happy husband and a happy daddy face, and I'll just kind of play along. But you can tell he didn't really seem too interested. It just kind of seemed like his mind was somewhere else. Like I said, there's several videos. I'm gonna see if I can post some in the bottom of my link, so y'all can kind of base off, kind of make your own judgment based off of the videos. And if you really, really pay attention to this guy's demeanor, he was over it. You could just tell he was really, really over it. And even more so when she announced that pregnancy. Did you see how, you know, distant he was? How you can just tell his joy, went from 100 to 5. I mean, you can just tell dude was not excited to be a father. He was not excited. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist, and it's so unfortunate because as a wife, she couldn't see that. It's so unfortunate that she really couldn't see through her husband's nonchalant demeanor that he really wasn't that happy. And that's the reason why I'm doing this content. It's specifically for my ladies, but of course I'm gonna look out for you guys, and y'all know y'all are welcome to chime in because I want y'all opinion. But it's really disheartening because it's not only her, it is so many women around here, married women, that are in denial with their miserable husbands. I mean, it comes a point when you have been in a marriage for a long time, and you know each other's ways. You basically become each other's reflection in the mirror. You both have a way of reading each other's thoughts, each other's feelings. For instance, I've been married going on 19 years, and my husband, he knows my every freaking move. He knows my emotions. No matter how much I try to play it off and act like I'm not mad, act like I'm not upset, he can spot it a mile away. No, even when I try to change my tone and I try not to act like I'm not that bothered something, he knows it. The first thing he says is, "What's wrong? What's the matter? You sound down. You sound like you're not really yourself." And the same thing with him. I can tell no matter how much my husband tries to, put on this front and act like he has everything all together and nothing's not stressing him. I can just tell. I can tell by the tone of his voice. I can tell by his demeanor. You just know things about each other when you have been married for a long time. It's okay. Yeah, I'm back. Laptop was dying. I had to charge it up. But anywho, you can just pretty much tell. He was not happy, and I'm really surprised that she didn't spot any of that. And maybe she did, and maybe in her mind she's like, okay, he's just going through the motions as a husband. Yeah, he may be a little tired from doing so much overtime, or she probably just in her mind found a way to just overlook her husband's unhappiness. And a lot of women have the tendency to do that, because what happens in some cases, this is not the case for all married women, and I can't say this was the case specifically for her. But what happens with married women is that they learn to go through the motions. A woman could be miserable and she will learn how to go through the damn motions. Okay, she will still get up, cook, clean, still make love to her husband if she feel like it. I mean, and knowing she's miserable, she will still put on this role and try to keep her composure, even when she's just as tired of him as he is of her. And then some of married women will go so far as to they'll keep having children from the man, from their husbands, knowing they done fell out of love with their husbands, knowing their husband's not really in love with them. Women will go through the motions. Women will put on a happy face despite how miserable their husband is. Now, men, on the other hand, they are not uh emotionally built like we are. So if something bothers them, they're not going to play it off as much. um some of them will, some men, in some cases, their uh misery will stand out a little bit more than others, a little bit more evident than others. Of course, I mean, it's obvious if a man is coming home 4 or 5 in the morning every night, he's out and you calling him, he don't answer his phone. I mean, of course, that's evident that the man is not happy, he's miserable. He really doesn't want the marriage, because of course at this point now he's losing respect. But in some cases, some men are not as evident. But if you are a real wife and you really know your husband, you will be able to um decipher and detect distance right away. And that's, again, that because as women by nature, we are very detailed and we pay attention to every little thing. It's just little things. For instance, if your husband's usual routine is when he comes in through the door, he takes his shoes off at the door and he hangs his coat up, and he'll come in and say, babe, what's for dinner? And you make his plate, he'll take a hot bath, um put on his jammies, he'll watch TV and relax and wait for you to bring him his plate of food. Or either y'all eat at the dinner table. Every house has their own routine. But if you see this man over a period of time, he's doing things a little different. Like, he's not coming straight in and taking his bath. He kind of sits down and flops in his clothes, knowing they're dirty, and he's been working on dirty clothes all day. As a wife, you should be attentive enough to say, okay, wait a minute, what's going on? Why are you not taking you a hot bath? Why are you resting in dirty clothes that you've been working on all day? Again, because women, we're very detailed individuals, so we can spot. You should be able to pick up on things, especially if a man has gotten out of his routine. For like a week or so. Now, keep in mind, some days you're not going to do everything exactly the same. So I'm not saying just because he does something a little different, so he's up to something. But you have to pay attention to the signs and know that when your wife or your husband is being distant. But I feel like in this case, with this particular woman, she was so consumed with her own happiness to a degree to where she really wasn't able to pick up on how miserable her husband was. Now, I'm not saying this to say she's a bad person or a bad woman or she deserved what happened, because that's by far the truth. Because guess what? Even as a wife, I don't have all my shit together. So I cannot knock her or any other woman, because this stuff my husband still has to fuss at me and get on me about. I don't do everything I'm supposed to do as a wife, and I'm learning and I'm growing. So it'd be hypocritical for me to throw shade at this woman because, again, I don't have it all together myself in my marriage. But as I was stating, basically, you can just tell if you look at the videos that have gone viral. She even has a Facebook page. Her name is Shannon Watts. Shannen. If you look into those videos, you can tell she was really so into the life of just being a wife. And sometimes married women, that's where we get lost in the sauce at. We forget that marriage is not just about us, that it is also about the men who married us. And we just get so caught up in the hype of being married. We're so infatuated. You have a lot of married women that are more infatuated with being married than actually having a healthy marriage. You have some women that feel like as long as they have the accessories of a marriage, meaning the house, the dog, the kids, the cat, the goldfish, the white picket fence. Some women feel like in marriages, as long as they have these marriage accessories, that they have it all together. And that is far from the truth. Your husband could be in the same house with you and he cannot be there with you. He can be there and not be there at the same time. And that's the same case with you men. Your wife can be there and not be there at the same time. If she's not getting the attention or the love or the support that she wants from you, of course, you can lose your wife right under your nose. And same thing with you ladies. Now, the topic is married women in denial with miserable husbands. Again, the signs were there, and I'm sure if she was still here and he decided to leave her versus going out the way that he did, she would have been able to look back and reflect, you know what, I've been lost my husband a long time ago. I just was too blind. I was too in denial. I was so consumed with my own happiness that I could not see it. I could not see that I was losing him. I could not see that, yeah, even though we're out to dinner with the kids, he's looking down, he's looking at his phone, or he's looking like, I'd rather be somewhere else. I'm sure if she could voice her opinion, she would look back and put all the pieces together. Now, keep in mind, some of her, I think she did spot some of it because some of her girlfriend, Nicole, said that basically, she admitted, that she felt like her husband Chris was out there having an affair. Now, this has yet to be confirmed. This is allegedly, so we don't know for a fact. But her friend said, she had already voiced some concerns anyway, that she felt like her marriage was having some issues. I also see here, they were married in their 30s. They have been married for 6 years and had 2 daughters. Okay. They previously declared bankruptcy in 2015. As I stated, he was employed by Derco Petroleum. I'm gonna show y'all a picture of this couple so y'all can get an idea as to who I'm talking about, because I really want everybody to have a visual perception of this picture perfect family. Who you think, just seems like they have it all together. You wouldn't even think for a moment that they would ever what has occurred would ever occur. um amongst them. And it's so unfortunate, guys and ladies. This is why you can't judge a book by its cover. And that's why as women, we can't be hating on what the next woman has. You can't be hating on what how great you think the next woman is doing. Just because she has a fine house and nice cars and her husband has a good job, in your mind you may be looking down on yourself or feeling bad about yourself because you're not married, or let's say you are married but you and your husband struggling. Because let me tell you something, these couples who look like they have it all together, honey, they don't be having it together like that. A lot of it has to just do with image. It has everything to do with image. Some people are more concerned about their image than they are really being happy. And you can just tell, he probably wasn't the worst guy. He just snapped. Now, it would be one thing if this dude had a criminal record and he was known to be a violent and abusive person, then you probably could have saw this coming. But probably what happened was the life of being the married man is just wore down on him, and being a family man is just wore down on him. And sometimes as women, we think that our men are superheroes, that they got this S on their chest. And just like women, we get overwhelmed. And as women, we've all have done it. We've gotten to a point to where we would get so overwhelmed, we're snapping at the kids, or we're snapping at our friends, or snapping at our sisters, our moms, because emotionally we're going through some things. And the thing about it is, ladies, men, they be going through it too. They go through the emotions where they want to snap, they want to blow up, they want to lose it on someone. And I think this is kind of what happened. I'm not condoning his behavior, because he still has to pay the price for his actions, and the courts is going to see to that anyway. It's a done deal. So he's made a choice that he cannot come back from. So we don't have to worry about him paying for his actions, because that's a debt that's going to be collected on his behalf. Okay, so that we already know. But you can just tell, he's a nice looking guy. He's not a bad guy. He worked hard. He had a family. Maybe at one point in time he wanted that, but at some point it just became overwhelming. And it's unfortunate that the reason why these men are so prone to killing their wives more so than women is because men do not talk, they do not express themselves, they don't go see a counselor, they don't go talk to no friends about it, because it's all about this pride. I'm a man, I'm not supposed to be aggravated. I'm a man, I'm not supposed to show that I'm tired. I'm a man, I'm not supposed to show that I'm overwhelmed. I got to put on this front and act like I'm strong, act like I got it all together, and act like that I'm handling everything like a man's supposed to. And just because you're a man, that does not mean you're not human. You get tired, you get frustrated, you get overwhelmed, you need a break. This man probably was in all type of financial debt that his wife probably had no clue about. Because again, she has all she knows is my husband got us in a beautiful home. My husband has us in nice cars. Me and my husband, we take the girls out to eat steak and potatoes and all of this every weekend. So in her mind, everything is fine. But who's to say financially, because they already had declared bankruptcy in 2015. Maybe he felt overwhelmed with trying to help her preserve this image of being the southern belle couple. That we're doing so great, we're making so much money, I'm such a family man, and my wife is a happy wife, happy life. There's no telling what he was going through to try to make her happy. Like I said, I don't know her personally. She seems like a sweet girl, a nice girl, but she seemed a bit much, a little annoying. She kind of come off as a nagger a little bit. And again, I don't mean not to insult her. God bless her soul. God bless her. She just being a woman. I mean, should I do it? I get on my husband's nerves. I aggravate him to where sometimes he just don't want to be around me. He'll just go in another room and turn on the TV loud and drown my damn voice out with the volume on. So, I mean, I get it. Let me see, just to give y'all some more information. Shannon Watts just returned home from a business-related trip, arriving around 2 in the morning on August 13th while the husband was staying home with the children. Shannon and the two children were reported missing later that day. Now, I find this ironic that while she was on a business-related trip and he was keeping the children, how he decided to take his whole family out this particular day. Don't y'all find that kind of strange? But it definitely happens. I think probably a lot was probably weighing on him mentally and emotionally at that moment, because the timing just seems pretty strange. But I'm gonna proceed with the story. Shannon and the two children were reported missing later that day by Shannon's friend and colleague, Nicole. Nicole had dropped Shannon off the night before from the airport and became concerned that she had missed her doctor's appointment due to her pregnancy scheduled for August 13th and was not returning text messages. At approximately 12:10 p.m., Nicole went to the Watts home after Shannon had also missed a business meeting. Once at home, Nicole knocks on the door and the doorbell rings were unanswered. She immediately notified the husband and the Frederick Police Department, who arrived to conduct a welfare around 1:40 p.m. Chris Watts gave the police permission to search the house, which was empty. The police discovered Shannon's purse, phone, and keys inside. Shannon's car and the children's car seats were also at the house. Same day, Chris Watts gave an interview to a local TV station outside his house, pleading for his family's return. Now, I've seen the video, ladies and gentlemen, where he was pleading. He basically did the Susan Smith thing, and I just cannot understand for the life of me why people so bold to get in front of the news media and plead, knowing that the people they're pleading about, they're the ones who are the cause of their deaths. But then again, I understand. I mean, of course, if he wouldn't have spoken to the media, then it would have like he had something to do with it. But this is just a psyche that this man had a lot of emotional, mental issues, evidently, way beyond what she could ever even imagine. Um, Let me get back to this. So he did an interview outside their home. Investigators sent Cavalier dogs could be seen on the property during the interview. He was arrested August 15th, 2018. According to the arrest, he confessed to strangling his wife and disposing of the three bodies. They were located by the authorities on the property of Watt's former employer. He had been fired from his job on August 15th. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, wait a minute. Okay, so that was the same day he was arrested, though. Okay, well, of course, most jobs, once you've been arrested, they don't keep you employed. So, okay, now I was just wondering if that happened before he killed the children, but that was the same day. Okay, the children's bodies were found in an oil tank where Shannon was buried in a shallow grave nearby. Chris Watts, according to the affidavit, allegedly, Chris Watts was having an affair, and he claimed to have had. I can't read today, y'all. He had claimed to have had asked for separation from his wife. August 21st, he was charged with multiple counts of first-degree murder, as well as unlawful termination of pregnancy, 3 counts of tampering with a deceased human body. He's pled guilty to the murders on November 6th. Wow, the day before my birthday, to avoid the death penalty. Most of these crimes occur in August before school starts, which may delay detection and investigation. People responsible for the group right now. Okay, this case has been connected in the media to the crime of family annihilation. According to research, people responsible for killing their families tend to be white males in their 30s. And it's starting to look that way because statistically wise, that's what's going on. So as you can really see here, this was a real family who seemed to have this was him doing his interview, y'all. I'm not going to play the video and stuff because due to copyrights, they're going to, make me take it down and all that anyway. So I'll leave some links where y'all can view it yourselves. So as you can see, he's in his orange jumpsuit, and it's just so sad and so unfortunate because I could only imagine what his family's going through and what her family's going through. And I guess I'm assuming probably the reason why he decided to kill his children too was because he didn't want them to stay behind and suffer, knowing that his wife, he was taking their mother, and then on top of that, stop sharing, that he was taking their mother away from them, and the fact that he was going to be incarcerated. So I guess in his mind, during his psyche at that point in time, I would rather just take everybody out. That way I don't have to live with the fact that they are still living for what I have done. So I really think that's pretty much where his mindset was. And again, that's why I'm doing this content about you know husbands that are in marriages where they are miserable. And again, it goes both ways, because I'm sure women, you have a lot of married women out there who are also miserable within their own marriages, really don't want to be there and just hanging in there for the sake of their kids and their children. But meanwhile, they're just, they're miserable. And I've seen this happen so many times, again, because people rather stay in denial than to be in reality. I never forget, my mother works at this hotel, and it's a very upscale motel for tourists who come in the Savannah, Georgia area. And my mom says she gets a lot of these customers that are lawyers, doctors, upper class men and women. And she never forget, there was one particular guest, you can tell the guy, he probably was an attorney, or maybe a physician or something, and he had his wife with him, and the wife also had their newborn baby. The baby probably could have been maybe 2 or 3 months old. And you can just tell, just the vibe, that he did not want them there. He was just pretty stiff to her. He wouldn't hold the door open for her. um he wouldn't, when he was getting out the car and unloading things out the car, he wouldn't help her with the stroller, he wouldn't help her with the bags. He was just being really, really cold and harsh to her. And it appeared to me as if she knew this man did not want her there. But you could tell she was one of those aggressive type of wives that, I don't care how miserable you are, you know, I'm going to be right here. I'm coming with you. You can just tell, and she tried to play it off in front of the housekeepers that was there. Honey, did you get your briefcase? Did you get the baby bag? You can tell she was trying so hard to make him this family man, and she was trying to basically, like, kiss his behind and trying to, like, not make him mad. You can tell she was like walking on eggshells and trying to play it off, but it was so evident, and you can just tell this man was miserable. Like, why the hell are you following me? Why did you come, and why did you bring that child? I don't want either of y'all here. You could tell that man was so mean to her. And I know a lot of women that are in marriages where their husbands treat them so cold. Okay, the man don't want to take you nowhere. You always going out by yourself. He never want to go with you. It's always just you and the kids while he sits to the house. Your husband is antisocial. He's not into really doing, family things. I mean, the signs are there. But if you're one of those women, you're going to be ride or die no matter how miserable he is. You're going to try to keep your family together. Then it can get to the point to where I know if I try to get rid of this, if I try to get rid of this wench, she's not going to let me get rid of her, so I'm gonna have to take out. I'm not saying that's what this guy did in this situation, but I'm saying that's how some men feel. Like, I can't get rid of this woman, and then the thing about it is, these men don't take the proper precautions. I mean, your wife keeps getting pregnant and you don't want any children, but then again, even as a man, if you express to your wife you don't want children, you can't, like, make her. That got to be something she has to be willing to do. So sometimes when a man feels trapped, he's gonna find a way out, even if it means resorting to this extent. And I'm not condoning it. I'm not saying it's correct. And you have some women in some situations too, to where they feel trapped, especially with abusive husbands. They know if they were to leave or walk away, that man is going to try to make their lives miserable, going to try to hurt them or hurt their children. Like, nah, I got to take him out, because if I try to leave, he's going to take me out anyway. So it's just so many dynamics of this type of situation. That's why I stated you have to pay attention to your mate. Watch the signs. If they're being distant, they're acting aggravated, they're getting attitudes for no reason, they're being antisocial. Be careful trying to force somebody to be in a situation that they really don't want to be in. And and you may feel like you're not forcing them because you're not telling them, well, I want you to stay, I don't want you to leave. But you could be forcing them just by overlooking the signs that they're showing you that they really don't want to be with you. And I know it's a very painful reality, especially for women. We don't want to give up our husbands. We don't want to, especially if he has a good job, making good income. He husband material, and I'm sure that was the woman's. I'm sure Shannon in this case figured she had a really good marriage. I mean, her husband had a good job. They had a nice home. You know, they're not really hurting. I'm sure they had the ups and downs and the arguments like everyone else, but for the most part, she thought they were doing pretty well. She thought they were on good standards. I mean, you could tell she sincerely loved her husband, and maybe he really did love her, but at that point in time, he lost it. He just couldn't handle the pressure. He couldn't fake it anymore. He couldn't pretend anymore like he could withstand the marriage. So he just snapped. And instead of him voicing that years ago, before it got to this point to where she had child number 3, he should have voiced that long time ago. Versus allowing it to get to this point to where he had to kill, where he felt the need to kill her and his 2 children on top of the child that was going to be coming into this world. But you know, it's an unfortunate situation. Yeah, I keep getting calls, but anyway, I'm gonna just get ready to go ahead and shut this down. But ladies and gentlemen, I just felt it was imperative that I did this content because it's very imperative that people have to understand. Even as wives, we have to realize that sometimes when you're in situations, you have to pay attention to your husband's behavior, and also husbands pay attention to your wife's behavior, because you just never really know that you may have a companion that's suffering in silence. And if you're so consumed with your own happiness and you're in denial and think everything is picture perfect, keep in mind that situations like this can happen. Now, this is not her fault. She did not deserve this. He should have been man enough to divorce her, walk away, pay the alimony, and just let it be. Because now, not only has he destroyed his life, but he's destroyed her family and his family as well. So anyway, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this up because I keep getting bugged, and it's just not making my content look professional. So anyway, y'all leave a comment and let me know what y'all think about this whole situation. And again, I thank everybody for tuning in. This is your girl, Lady Mocha, and I'm with Mocha's Cafe de Paris. Remember, I'm going to always pour you a cup of truth and break you off a slice of knowledge.
Hopefully the
Thank
Falcons
you.
win.
Later.
So, oh, and we got some amazing chocolates and vanilla and
Coffee.
mother-in-law coffee. They said it's absolutely the best. Haven't tried the coffee here, but they said it was good, so we'll see. You guys like my hat?
I love the hat.